What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Bryce, and today we're reading chapter 50 of the Parker Inheritance. Let's begin. Chapter 50. The safety deposit box contained information of 10 offshore bank accounts. But that wasn't what interested Candace, at least not immediately. It was the other items in the box that caught her eye. A red scarf, still kinked from where it had been knotted around something. A creased tennis photo from the 1956 yearbook. When it was folded, Siobhan and Reggie stood side by side, their arms touching. 2 faded slips of paper, both about someone traveling to a place called St. Eves. An older, more recent picture of Parker and Siobhan. She was clearly sick, the sky was dark, and the Washington Monument stood behind them. They looked so happy. Candace carefully ran her fingers over each item. Had Parker placed them in the box with his own hands? What did they mean? Why were they so important? Why were they important? She and Brandon had just solved Parker's puzzle, only to be presented with a new challenge. By the time they exited the vault, the press had converged upon the bank. The group stepped outside, and Miss Holliday explained who she was and what had happened. Then she invited Candace and Brandon up to take questions. The first questions were about the letter that Parker had sent. Who had received it? What had it said? How did Candace find it? The reporter asking the questions was from the Lambert trader. Candace and Brandon grinned at each other, and then they began to tell their story. Of course, unlike Brandon and Candace, the adults were much more interested in the bank account information. It was 2 days later that they discovered the combined accounts were worth more than $48 million. But there were strings attached. Most of the money could only be spent for the betterment of the city, specifically the Vista Heights neighborhood. With Miss Holliday's help, they formed a foundation to decide how to best use the money. At the top of the list was a new library building to be located on Darling Avenue, across from the park. Candace and Brandon stipulated that it had to be named after Siobhan Washington. They also decided to remodel the tennis and basketball courts at Vickers Park. They would need them to be bigger for the summer camp they planned to start. Parker also left directions to correct some of the items he had manipulated for the purposes of the letter, such as the photo of Leanne Washington. While the Missionary Circle truly held a bake sale to raise money for the court case, the correct date was June 9th, 1951. 2 months later, after buying Tori a new car with unlimited car washes, Candace and Brandon split the remaining money 50-50. Their parents made them put most of it away for college and the future, whatever that meant. Candace thought about buying their house, but decided against it. It didn't seem all that important anymore. But a plus. She was spending more time at her dad's apartment, which was close to her old friends. She even had dinner with her father and Daniel a few times. She didn't know what to think of him yet, other than he looked way too hip to be dating her dad. It made Candace a little sad, her father being with someone who wasn't her mother. But it also made her happy because he was happy. And while her mother wasn't dating, she was happy as well. Thanks to the money from Parker's inheritance, she was able to put her other projects aside to focus on her Anne C. Miller novel. She was finally following her passion, writing what she needed to write, and that made her the happiest of them all. Candace couldn't even remember how many reporters they met with. Anyone wanted to talk about the mysterious James Parker, his secret life as Reggie Bradley, and his money. Fewer people wanted to hear about the Allens, even fewer wanted to know about the Washingtons. That made Candace a little sad too. But there were also good things that happened because of the media attention. A week after the news broke, she and Brandon received a call from Charles Chip Douglas, or rather, Dr. Charles Chip Douglas. He had been a superintendent for a number of rural school districts in Mississippi, where he had spent his life forming busing systems and magnet schools to better integrate the black and white students. Chip told them more about the Washingtons and the night of the tennis match, and even shared secrets about his father's heritage. There were also other stories. Candace heard from many of Coach Washington's students, some as far away as California. She received letters from Siobhan's former co-workers in Maryland, who all raved about how passionate she was about her work. Candace even talked to a 94-year-old woman who had served with Leanne Washington in the Women's Missionary Circle. So many stories, so much history. And as she saw her mother punching away at her keyboard one night, 4 different pins stuck in her hair. Candace thought, if the news won't tell the right stories, I will, one day. And that was chapter 50. So tomorrow I'll be reading chapter 51. And that's about it. Peace out.